Today we're going to explain the full backstory of All For One, the former overlord of Japan's underworld and the most deadly potato the world has ever seen. But before we begin, don't forget to sub to the channel, as I think we can hit 50,000 subscribers sometime this month. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So All For One was born during the first generation of quirk users, when society was in a complete state of chaos and hadn't yet come to terms with the idea of superhumans. Now, at that time, people without quirks made life pretty difficult for those with mutations, and as we found out in the manga, the woman who actually created the term quirk, at least in this context, was killed by anti-quirk terrorists. Basically, it was a scary time to be alive, and as it says in this panel, laws became effectively meaningless. And during this period of confusion, a young All For One used this disorder and chaos to his advantage. As an example, there were people who had quirks who didn't want them, like this guy, and then there were others who wanted quirks but didn't have them. Now, the nature of All For One meant that his power could satisfy the needs of both groups, as he could both steal quirks and grant quirks. By taking power from some and giving it to others, he was able to accrue an army of loyal servants. Looking at these two guys specifically, after All For One had swapped their quirks, they even say to him that if he was ever in need, they would come running to help him. And in a completely different example, there was a gang of quirk users attacking people who were quirkless until All For One stepped in and evened the playing field by taking away the gang's powers. In this panel, he says that he would give anyone whatever they wanted as long as they agreed to join him. But this was just the beginning of his rise to power. As he gathered more and more followers, they began to commit evil acts on his behalf without him even needing to ask them. The manga tells us of an incident in which a gang of quirk users refused to accept his new world order, and as a result, All For One's followers took the initiative and blew up the gang's hideout, killing everyone inside. His followers did this not because they were told to do it, but because the existence of this gang was a threat to All For One's ideals. He had genuinely built up an army of people who bought into his ideas and would do anything to help him. Gigantomachia is another example of this, as he would go out and kidnap people with powerful quirks, even heroes. In chapter 144, Gigantomachia was looking for the Springer Hero Agency, and then at the battle at Kamino, we see All For One with the quirk known as spring-like limbs. Coincidence? I think not. However, despite amassing such a devoted following, All For One had a little brother who was strongly opposed to everything that was going on. Now, the brother believed that quirks shouldn't be used for personal gain, and that All For One was manipulating people and exploiting their weaknesses. And just a little bit of trivia for you, their family name is Shigaraki. So because this brother was his only family, All For One still loved him and did everything he could to make his brother join his army, essentially. Despite that, his brother kept refusing time and time again. The guy even went on hunger strike and refused to eat. Was All For One keeping him locked up in this room or something? My guess is probably yeah. Anyway, the younger Shigaraki was a fan of a certain comic book, and All For One remarked how his rise to power was exactly like the demon lord from that old comic book. Now his brother then said to him that the demon did conquer the world, but that the hero who was fighting for justice managed to struggle past his pain and defeat the villain in the end. It was at that moment that All For One uttered this ultimate mic drop line, in which he says that fantasy has become reality, but that reality doesn't follow the old playbook. Yeah, he just flamed him right there. He then forcibly gave his brother a stockpiling quirk, and he did this to make him submit in much the same way that other people who he gave quirks to would submit to him and become his loyal followers. And he specifically chose the stockpiling power because his brother's frail body would be able to handle it, as the stockpiling ability hadn't really been built up yet. And this is where we get the ultimate plot twist, which I'm sure most of you watching this already know what this is going to be. His brother did actually have a quirk, which a certain someone may or may not have told him about. Check out my Bakugo theory video if you want to know more about that. It turns out that the brother had a secret quirk that allowed him to pass on quirks, whereas beforehand, everyone thought he was completely quirkless. This transferring ability was then fused with the stockpiling quirk. As it says here, the brother was defeated and chose to pass on the power in the hope that one day it could be strong enough to stop his older brother, which is the perfect time to mention that All For One acquired an age-defying quirk and was basically going to live forever until someone actually went out of their way to kill him. Now, over the years, All For One became obsessed with One For All, Almost like a video game, he sought to destroy anyone who possessed the power and also went around crushing the strong. This allowed him to become the unrivaled symbol of evil and take over the underworld of Japan. All Might said that All For One had such a degree of power and control over Japan that it would be hard to even comprehend it today. One by one, he crushed each of the following successors of One For All with absolute ease, but he was unable to actually steal the quirk because it can only be passed on when the user wants it to be. But still, I mean, look at these guys. They have been battered, they have been bruised, they've had their arms blown off, like, it's not been a good time for them. Now, Dr. Ujiko is another one of All For One's faithful servants over the years, and his real name is actually Dr. Garaki, by the way. Kind of a play on the name Shigaraki, I guess. Now, Dr. Garaki said that out of everything All For One sought to possess, One For All was the one power that didn't behave in the way he wanted. So I think it's pretty clear that he didn't create this power on purpose, as I think some people have theorized in the past. So after killing all these One For All users, he finally gets to the 7th, Nana Shimura. And yeah, he still kills her as well, but this time things go a bit differently afterwards. So All For One had a few more years of dominance before All Might came to the forefront and began to defeat All For One's allies one by one. And prior to them having a massive battle for the ages, Big Shigaraki, who is All For One, took it upon himself to find the grandchild of Nana Shimura and take him under his wing, and even gave him his family name. This child would then grow up to be Tomura Shigaraki, who is the primary antagonist of My Hero Academia. And during the battle at Kamino, All For One did admit to All Might that the only reason he did this was to one day break All Might's spirit, and he also engineered encounters between both All Might and Shigaraki. You gotta rate this guy's commitment to the bit, because it was a long wait to see that joke pay off. He raised Tomura Shigaraki to become his successor, and he wanted him to unify people who were riled up by Stain's ideology in much the same way that he once unified those people who were lost in a chaotic society. All For One then came face to face with Prime All Might, and the two had a battle that left his head completely crushed. It was believed that he had died, and to be honest, he probably should have. But Dr. Garaki, who was definitely All For One's most loyal follower, maybe second to Gigantomachia, Dr. Garaki somehow managed to save him. The doctor revealed that he had offered All For One his technology, all the different Nomus, including the high ends, and even his life. Basically, he's willing to do anything for this man. So using his crazy Frankenstein-type science, he managed to salvage All For One and essentially bring him back to life. Or at least stop him from dying. But in a way, this was a good thing, as it allowed Tomura Shigaraki to come to the forefront and lead the League of Villains. And whilst the doctor said in this panel that he believed that the League of Villains would run much smoother if All For One was still in charge, I think by this point, All For One had developed a genuine love for Shigaraki and actually wanted him to take over. Hawk says that the League's ultimate goal is the second coming of All For One. But they aren't talking about this All For One, they're talking about the next All For One. It is my firm belief that Shigaraki will one day receive the All For One quirk. That much I am 100% certain of. But yeah guys, that was everything we know about All For One up until the battle at Kamino, and we all know what happened there. As of making this video, All For One is still in a prison cell, but he definitely won't be staying there forever, I can tell you that much. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and help me reach my goal of 50,000 subscribers, it would mean a lot. Peace out.